Hey everyone, so today we're diving into Midnight, a blockchain that's all about privacy. But what's really fascinating is its token system. It's got a unique setup that might just change how these networks are built. Let's get into it.
Right away, you hit this really interesting puzzle. You've got one network, but it runs on two different tokens. I mean, most blockchains just have one token that does everything. So why would Midnight go through the trouble of creating two? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. And the answer, really, is what they call a dual token economy. It's not an accident, it's a very specific design choice. The whole idea is to separate two totally different jobs within the network. So let's break down what those jobs are. Okay, probably the easiest way to think about this is with a car analogy. Think of the night token as the steering wheel. It's what gives you control, what lets you decide where the whole project is headed. Dust, on the other hand, is the fuel. It's the gas you burn to actually make the car go, or in this case, to power your private transactions. You see, two very different roles, so two separate tokens. So let's start with that steering wheel, the night token. This one is all about long-term ownership and having a say in what happens. It's about governance. The most important thing to get here is that night is designed to be held, not spent. It's a non-expendable asset. It's kind of like owning a share in a company. When you hold it, you get a voice, a real stake in how the network grows and changes. It makes you a part owner, not just some user passing through. And we're not just talking about symbolic power here. Holding night gives you actual influence. You can help decide what happens with the protocol's treasury. You can weigh in on contract royalties for developers. You can even help set the network fees. You're not just a passenger, you're actually helping navigate.
You can even see this idea reflected in the branding. The look for Night is solid, serious, foundational. It's meant to look and feel like a long-term asset, really hammering home its role as the core of governance and control for the whole ecosystem.
All right, so we've talked about the steering wheel. Now, let's get to the fuel that makes the engine roar, the dust token. Just like gas for your car, dust is meant to be used up. It's the utility token that you spend to pay for things on the network. And specifically, you use it for those private, shielded transactions that are, Midnight's big claim to fame. Anytime you want to do something privately, you're going to need a little bit of dust. But this is where dust gets really, really clever. So yeah, it's shielded for privacy, and of course, it's consumable. But it's also renewable, which means more can be created, and it's recyclable, meaning it goes right back into the system after you spend it. So this isn't a fuel source that can just run out and leave everyone stranded. This whole thing creates this really elegant economic loop. First, the night holders, the owners, mint new dust. Then, users like you and me spend that dust on transaction fees. But here's the cool part. Instead of just vanishing, that spent dust gets recycled right back into the network's treasury. It's a completely self-sustaining cycle. And just like with Night, the branding for dust totally reflects its purpose. The design is light, it's active, it's fluid. It's supposed to feel like something you use, the everyday gas that powers all the network's private services. Okay, so you've got these two tokens, Night and Dust. That begs the question, how does anyone get them in the first place? Well, the plan is a distribution that happens in a few different phases, designed to get them out into the community. The rollout is set to happen in 3 stages, and they have some pretty cool names. It kicks off with the glacier drop, then it moves on to the scavenger mine, and it wraps up with something called the lost and found. Now, the details for each stage are a little different, but the main goal is exactly the same. Spread the tokens far and wide and do it fairly to build a decentralized community of owners and users right from day one. All right, let's bring it all back home and finally answer that big question from the beginning. Now that we've seen what Night and Dust do, we can really understand why they both need to exist. And here it is, the big idea behind the whole system. By splitting ownership from usage, the network cleverly avoids a massive conflict of interest. Think about it. People who are just using the network for daily stuff don't have to worry about the politics of governance. And the long-term investors? Their ownership stake doesn't get watered down by tons of daily network activity. So it all boils down to this. Night is your non-expendable asset for governance and long-term control. Dust is your consumable fuel for everyday transactions and gas fees. They're basically two sides of the same economic coin, creating a system of checks and balances that's baked right into the economy itself. And that's the ultimate goal here, The whole reason for this pretty intricate design is to create a healthier, more stable economy for the blockchain, one where the goals of long-term holders and everyday users are actually aligned instead of being in constant conflict. It's a really fascinating experiment in blockchain economics. And that kind of leaves us with this huge question, doesn't it? Is Midnight's dual token model just a one-off, a unique experiment? Or is this separation of powers actually a blueprint for the future? A better way to build more stable, balanced, and sustainable blockchain networks for all of us? Now that's something we're thinking about.